Hello, good afternoon everybody. My name's Arthur Frankland. I founded Frankland Grinding Products in 1986, some 36 years ago. I'm now going to show you how to professionally sharpen a hairdresser's or a dog groomer's scissor, etc. First of all, on my bench in front of me you can see the machine itself with the two protectors that have to be placed over the wheels, and of course we have safety glasses here. For the sake of this video I'm not going to be wearing the safety glasses, nor am I going to be wearing a mask, but both of these are supplied for health and safety at works, for your own safety. Okay, what do we have here? The machine itself, as you can see, the machine weighs, I can lift it up with one hand comfortably, it weighs approximately 8.5 kilos. On the back of the machine you can see that you could attach, if you wish, a dust extraction facility. That depends on the number of scissors that you're sharpening. This is the clamp, the scissor clamp, which fits on this 3-position arm. 1, 2, 3. And we set the jig, if you can see it fairly close up, that's the jig that you can set at whatever angle you wish, between 0 up to a maximum of about 55 degrees. But I strongly recommend in the UK that we sharpen scissors for hairdressers at 35 degrees. So I'm now setting this at 35 degrees. There we are, 35 degrees. And then I lock it in position. The jig has two dowels, a dowel on the top, dowel on the bottom, so you can drop that into the arm, into this position for polishing or honing the scissor, or if the scissor needs to be ground using this wheel, which is a diamond wheel. It's actually 800 grit, 100% industrial diamond, and that can be placed in that way so that your scissor would be in the position for grinding. Those are your wheels. This is the polishing wheel, and personally I prefer this 100% of the time more than the wheel that is recommended by Wolf Industries, which is this wheel. That is the Okami polishing wheel, which is normally red on the outside of the body, and you apply a polish to it. But I personally strongly prefer the standard wheel, which incidentally is much cheaper. But that wheel plus a tub of polish come as standard with the model OGS TAS, T-A-S, sometimes known as the twice as sharp. So there we are, 35 degrees. So I can then place that in that position. Now we are ready for honing the scissor. Also we have here a scissor screw pliers kit, and for some screws that hold the blades together, that is the standard screw, but some screws this pathway does not go all the way through and there'll be a dimple in the middle, so you need what people have started to call the hedgehog, and you just find 2 of these in which you can turn the screw, slacken it and tighten it. You may be wondering what this is. Torque. This is thread locking compound, because I've found over the years sometimes a hairdresser or a barber will say to me, "Oh Arthur, you were in last week doing half a dozen scissors for me. You did a great job, but the screw keeps coming loose." Now that's probably because the screws have worn a little bit, but I can take the screw out, with the thread locking, with the pliers, and put a couple of drops of thread locking compound, put the screw back in, check the balance of the scissor and leave it to dry, and the screw will stay where it should be. So, basic scissor sharpening. I'm going to show you how to sharpen a scissor without taking the blades apart. Now this causes so many discussions. Should you sharpen a scissor assembled or should you take it apart? Here are scissors, plenty of scissors here, which I have taken apart. In some cases you may have to take them apart because there's foreign bodies at the pivot point. But the whole message is, the hairdresser gives me a scissor, Arthur, can you give that back to me so it cuts from the pivot point right to the tip for point cutting, for chipping in, for slide cutting, or as barbers call it, for feather cutting. The vast majority of scissors do not need to be taken apart, and there is no virtue, in my humble opinion, in inventing unnecessary work. Right, so we'll put the scissor, an assembled scissor, in the clamp. And all I'm going to do is open up the jaws of the clamp and put the scissor in about 2/3 of the way up from the pivot point at 35 degrees. Again, 35 degrees is a subject of discussion. In America they say 40, and maybe in France 40 degrees. The sharper you make it, the higher the angle and the quicker it will blunt. British hairdressers like 35 degrees, and then you get maximum use of the scissor before it does become blunt. And incidentally, most hairdressers in this country prefer to have their scissors sharpened about every 3 or 4 months, 3 or 4 times a year. So that's the scissor now in the clamp, and I will show you, if I take a scissor where I've disassembled it, it's sharpened in exactly the same way. It's in the clamp and it's sharpened in exactly the same way. So there's no mystery about that. In all cases you are sharpening the scissor from this point here to the point of the scissor. So we put the scissor back in on 35 degrees. This is a cobalt scissor, probably costing in the order of £180 when it was new. So switch the machine on, make sure there's nobody, no children in proximity of the machine, and then just take it until the scissor is touching the wheel, and the pressure of the scissor against the wheel has to be no more than 2.5–3 pounds per square inch. So right to the middle, but never ever go off the end like that. Never do that. Always stop with the point of the scissor in the middle. And I can do that with the vast majority of scissors. I haven't even gone to the diamond wheel yet. And I can feel, yes, there's a big burr. That's a good sign. So, when should I use the diamond wheel? Well, the first thing is, when you receive the scissor from the customer, from the client, you open and close it, you feel it, you can listen to it, and the blades should literally just slide over each other. And when they are closed, if you look here, there must never be any gaps like that. If there's a tiny gap, then you need to adjust the bumper, either fitting a new bumper or sharpening a little bit off the bumper itself. Right, so in we go again. You only need to do that 4, maximum 5 times. So now I know there's a burr. I shall prove the scissor after to you by doing a cut test, and then I can put that in there, the other blade, switch her on and sharpen until there is a burr, making sure the point of the scissor does not go over the edge. Stop it roughly in the middle of the wheel. Now I should imagine, yes, there's a good burr. Right, so now we have to talk about deburring the scissor. As recommended by Wolf Industries in America, when you've only honed a scissor, honed or polished a scissor, either using the standard wheel or the Ukami polishing wheel, you cut the burr off. And this is how to cut the burr off. You take some tissue, single ply, that's just one thin, that's as thin as it can get, and you should be able to cut like that, right to the tip of the scissor. And likewise with this scissor, it should just slide through the material or the hair. In fact, I have over here a hair doll, which is something that all trainee hairdressers use. So I can take one of these scissors here, take this one, and I can do a cut test and watch, straight through. There's the hair. It does not push the hair along, it simply slides through. If after doing that it didn't feel particularly sharp, then I could grind it. I could take out the jig, invert it 180 degrees. Excuse me, before I do, I'll just pop the scissor back in there. Put the scissor in there, lock it in position, and then turn ready. Now this is now ready for grinding using a diamond wheel. Be careful, do not press too hard, because the diamond wheel could dig into the cobalt or titanium or stainless steel scissor if you press too hard. So I'm now going to, you can actually hear the difference and you can smell the difference. And this will produce a more obvious burr. I wish you could feel this. It's a very obvious burr. So we turn around onto the other blade. And do the other blade. Now I've just informed you that there is a more obvious burr, a big burr, so we need to remove that burr, but not in the same way as we remove the burr on the polishing wheel. And this is the way. Hold the scissor like this, pull down on that with your thumb, and push this blade, this one, up and over without the two touching. When they're closed, squeeze them together and open them up. Squeeze them together and open them up. Can I carry on? Yep. Okay, that has removed the burr. You can see if I did that 10 seconds ago, that would have cut my hands. The burr is removed. And the scissor is probably sharp enough. I'm sure it'll be perfectly sharp. There you go. Right to the tips. But that's not enough. If you've ground it, then you have to polish it. So we have to put this back in, and of course it says there, hone right. So you do the honing on the right. On this it says sharpen on the left. So put that in there. Excuse all the bells and buzzes because we are running a busy business here. So we'll go over, we'll polish it. And now I can guarantee that this is razor sharp. Again, a quick test, always with the screw of a right-handed scissor on your right. And that should now, as it does, no effort. Now, the scissor is sharp, it's deburred. Have a look. We're now talking about the balance of the scissor. That is not balanced. That is too slack. So what we will use is our little head jog here, and one of these will come with every machine. So we just have to line this up. If you can see that screw, where the screwdriver would normally fit in, it can't because there's a dimple in the middle. So what we must do is marry this up to this. That may be enough already. Oh, in fact, I've gone too much. I'm going to take a little bit of that pressure off. That's it. Now, there we are. That's perfect balance. When you just let this, where there's the spur, or the finger rest, let that go, there's about an inch gap. Don't make too much of a science of that. Half inch, an inch is fine. And then just feel at it, that's good. Some people now say that it's necessary, and sometimes it is, to remove the tiniest of burrs. So we use these ukami blocks. And one of them is the finish, and this is the deburr. So I'm now going to take the scissor and bring that up the deburr like that, and the other blade, and then the finish. Oh, this is probably 3,000 or 4,000 grit size. And that will just polish it, and then there we are. You will easily be able to see the ride line. The ride line is that line there, going all the way to the tip on both blades. It should not be interrupted. You can see the reflection from the light, that line all the way up there. And because these scissors are convex, and now let me explain that because a lot of people are baffled by science. The convexity, convex means up, concave means down. They are convex on the outside, but on the inside edge they're concave, and that concavity leads up to the ride line. All we have to do now is put a little drop of scissor oil on it, work it in, 1 or 2 drops, allowing some oil to go down into the pivot area. One thing I omitted to mention, forgive me, I just do it automatically when I'm servicing a scissor. I have a selection of bumpers and we supply these. The bumper is, of course, there, normally plastic here. And if that wears down quite a lot, as it will by constantly doing that, as a hairdresser does, then it may cause the scissors to overlap, or if it's too big, because somebody's put a bumper in there that is sticking out too much, you may have to take a little bit off, and it's the easiest job in the world. All you do is hold it like that and hold it on the polishing wheel. Only take off a little tiny bit, and make sure when you close your scissors They meet right at the end. There is no gaps and there is no crossing over. Then you can guarantee to your customer, your hairdresser, that the scissor will cut perfectly. And I have supplied scissors and sharpening machines to most countries of France, and one company in England, very big company with activities all over from the north of Scotland to the south of Cornwall, Pets at Home, who sharpen hundreds of dog grooming scissors, and I know for sure that they are 100%, as they have bought 2 or 3 of this particular machine. Thank you very much. I hope that is clear.